I just bought this TV. It's from the Chinese company Hisense. It's a Chinese brand, one of the biggest electronics manufacturers in the world. But if you look at the label, it says Made in Mexico. How does that make sense? So I started digging, and it turns out something big is happening. Chinese companies are pouring billions into factories across Mexico. Since 2018, that investment has surged, entire industrial parks going up across northern Mexico. Thousands of workers, massive factories, all producing TVs, furniture, electronics, and sending them straight into the United States. But here's what really threw me. Those goods are coming in duty-free. No tariffs, zero. But wait a second. I thought the whole point of Trump-era tariffs was to stop Chinese goods from flooding into the U.S. and bring manufacturing jobs back into America.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already.
How are Chinese goods crossing the border without paying a cent in tariffs? And why are jobs that tariff policy was supposed to bring to the U.S. going to Mexico instead? To find out, we went to Mexico, and what we found feels almost surreal. Chinese-run factory campuses stretching across the desert, street signs in Mandarin, workers moving between massive warehouses, entire supply chains set up to produce goods stamped Made in Mexico. Because in global trade, it's not who makes something that matters, it's where it's made. And that one distinction is quietly reshaping hundreds of billions of dollars in trade, where factories get built, and who's actually winning the trade war. I'm Hannah. I've spent the last decade writing about money, trying to understand why people, companies, and countries make the financial decisions they do. I read a newsletter called Your Brain on Money, and lately my brain has been obsessed with tracing this TV. I followed my TV from my home, back to the Best Buy where I bought it, to a distribution warehouse, all the way across America's main freight highways to here, the Mexican border. So this is the World Trade Bridge in Laredo, Texas. It's the busiest land port in the Western Hemisphere. 15,000 trucks cross here every single day. All of them are carrying furniture, auto parts, appliances, and likely my TV north into the US market. And the flow has been accelerating. Since 2018, US imports from Mexico have increased by almost 50%. By the end of last year, US-Mexican trade surpassed China and Canada combined. Something massive has shifted, and I know it has to do with a certain someone and his favorite word.
Tariffs, 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 tariffs.
But how exactly is this a result? To understand why, I crossed the border myself. I'm in Mexico City, in what could be one of the smallest Chinatowns in the world. This is Barrio Chino, and it spans about one city block on Calle Dolores. It has been here for over a century, and it's a great visual representation of how China and Mexican cultures come together.
Esto es chocolate abuelita, ganchito, que es un pastelillo aquí muy típico. Que la receta es originalmente sí es un chino, nos la dio, pero de ahí nosotros la hicimos ya a lo que es a la ciudad.
There have been Chinese immigrants in Mexico for well over 100 years, but the Mexican government hasn't always been amicable. In the 30s and 40s, fueled by a wave of nationalism, Mexico expelled a majority of its Chinese population, devastating their communities. But in the last 30 years, there's been a concerted effort to rebuild those cultural connections. The arc that marks the barrio entrance was a gift from China to the city in the 90s as a symbol of goodwill. This place is really a symbol of cultural resiliency. But what I found a few blocks away is something different. I'm in Centro Historico and Wholesale Market. The workers here are Mexican, the customers are Mexican, but the products around me are all Chinese made. As you can see here, this is Chinese as well. I think all of these products are right here. How has this area changed over the past couple of years?
Anteriormente, el producto era americano, Los Ángeles, México. Ahora el producto es China, México. De hecho, ya todo ya es chino. Comida china, ropa china, réplicas chinas.
Here you can find cheap electronics, clothing, toys, and many of these products, even though they're Chinese-made, also bear that label, Made in Mexico. So where are all these Chinese Made in Mexico products coming from?
Hey, Hannah.
Hi. I decided to call my friend Solomon, who is based in Mexico City, to see if he could help me out. I just came back from Mexico City, and I had a chance to look at the wholesale markets and just see how much Chinese goods are in these markets, and I really want to go back to the source and get a sense for the amount of Chinese influence in the area. And so I'd love if you could take a look inside the factories. Like, I want to know what a Chinese factory looks like in Mexico.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's a very short flight away from Mexico City, so I can jump on the plane and do that for you.
About 2 hours south of the US border, the landscape starts to noticeably change. Factories, warehouses, logistics hubs stretching into the horizon, and Suleiman was able to get into one. This is Hofusan Industrial Park, the first Chinese industrial park in North America. It was launched in 2015 by a joint venture between Chinese conglomerates and a prominent Mexican family. It covers over 2,000 acres of land, and they're planning to expand. More than 40 Chinese companies operate here. Manhua, one of the world's largest furniture manufacturers, Kuka, which builds robotics and automation equipment, and Hisense, the company that made My TV. And what Suleiman found inside was a fully integrated manufacturing operation. Chinese-sourced components arrived at the factory where Mexican workers assembled them into finished products. And at the end of the line, you get a new label that reads Made in Mexico.
Los componentes más especializados que tenemos para los sofás vienen provenientes de China. El equipo chino viene mayoritariamente a puestos de supervisores y gerencia. Tenemos alrededor de más de 200 personas trabajando en este momento. Ellos son locales aquí de la región de Salinas, Victoria.
The workers in these factories come from all around Mexico, really drawn in by the boom of manufacturing and steady wages in Nuevo León.
The wages here are pretty fair, making more money than my previous job.
But the management, the capital, and the supply chains, those are all Chinese. And so you get this very strange hybrid. You have Mexican labor, Chinese ownership, and American consumers. And Hofusan is not unique. Chinese foreign direct investment in Mexico has increased nearly 300% since 2018. There are billions of dollars flowing to factories just like these, and most of them are producing goods destined for American homes. And if you think about it, a truck from this park can reach the US border in less than a day and be in American stores almost immediately. But proximity isn't the whole reason why China moves so much of their manufacturing here. Because these goods aren't just getting to the US faster, they're entering America duty-free. But wait a second, didn't Trump make a really big deal about putting tariffs on basically everyone? How are Chinese goods crossing the border without paying a cent in tariffs? That is the back door. And to understand how it was built, we need to go back in time.
Hey Dynamos, I wanted to build something on Lovable just for you. On Business Explains the World, we aim to break down the hidden systems behind the business and economics that shape the world around us. Oftentimes, we end up asking why something is so expensive. I'm sure that's something that you often wonder too. Well, now we have a Lovable tool to decode that for anything you might wonder about. To build it, I started by telling Lovable exactly what I wanted to make. Its prototype was already really close to a finished product. I had a lot of fun using the visual edits tool to make this one look pretty. Should we test it out? Why is food so expensive now? You can see charts, the sources it pulled from, and related videos to keep digging into this topic. What do you want to create? Use our link to get 20% off your first month of Lovable Pro. Thanks, Lovable. Now let's go back to the show.
Donald Trump has a long-running political obsession of bringing manufacturing back into the United States.
As sure as you're sitting there, we are going to bring our jobs back into this country for the first time.
In his view, two things have hollowed out American factories. In the early 90s, North American manufacturing had a logistics problem. And to show you how it works, I'm gonna use some props. So let's say you're building a car. Maybe the car had its wiring assembled in Nuevo León, it had its steel stamped in Ontario, Canada, and it had its engine cast in Chihuahua, Mexico. And all this is assembled in Detroit. Every single time one of these parts crossed a border, it was faced with tariffs and customs checks. The whole process was very expensive and full of friction points. Meanwhile, the EU was integrating into a genuine single market, and European manufacturing was pulling ahead. North America needed to catch up. So in 1994, the US, Mexico, and Canada signed NAFTA, which stands for the North American Free Trade Agreement, which created a free trade zone across the continent. And it worked. Trade between the three countries quadrupled from 1993 to 2016. An estimated 17 million American jobs came to depend on trade with Canada and Mexico. But Trump clearly had a problem with where the factories were ending up. A key part of NAFTA was that it allowed companies to build in any of the member countries and sell duty-free into the US market. And Mexico had the lower labor costs. So over time, businesses from around the world, including the US, started building their factories south of the border and shipping finished products back to the US soil. American factories continued to close. But NAFTA was only half the story. The other problem, in Trump's view, was
China. 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 China.
By the 2000s, China had become the world's factory, exporting huge volumes of goods into the United States. To try to reverse the trend, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Chinese imports, hoping it would revitalize US manufacturing. But that's not what happened. Instead of moving to the US, companies shifted their production to Mexico. NAFTA had already built the framework, so all Chinese companies had to do was ship parts to Mexican factories. And under the US government's own trade rules, even if many of the components came from China, if the finished product is assembled in Mexico, then it was made in Mexico and could enter the US tariff-free. Even USMCA, which Trump replaced NAFTA with in 2020, didn't fix the problem. The tariffs didn't work to bring manufacturing back to the US, but it did move a lot of it next door. And that's what's going on here. These are Chinese products being assembled in Mexico. It's kind of like if you shipped IKEA furniture from Sweden to Mexico, had someone put it together, and then called it a Mexican bookshelf. But it's enough. By the time Trump returned to the Oval Office in 2025, the numbers were hard to ignore. Chinese investment in Mexico had tripled. Trump's solution to all this? If China was going to use Mexico as a backdoor, he'd tariff Mexico too and slam the door shut. In February 2025, Trump announced 25% tariffs on Mexican imports, the same rate as China. But then Trump ran into a problem. His own trade deal. USMCA, the deal that replaced NAFTA, has a built-in loophole. Maybe not intentionally, but it's there. If enough of a product is made from North American parts or it uses North American labor, it gets a USMCA certification that exempts it from new tariffs. Before 2025, only about half of Mexican exports were USMCA certified. At the time, tariffs were so low that the extra paperwork just wasn't worth it. But when Trump announced 25% tariffs on Mexico, suddenly that certification was worth a lot more. Businesses across Mexico raced to file, and by mid-2025, over 80% of exports were USMCA certified. So essentially, Trump's own trade deal became the shield protecting exactly what he was trying to stop. And then, in February 2026, Trump lost his biggest weapon entirely.
Coming on the air with breaking news, a major defeat for President Trump's economic agenda. The Supreme Court ruling the president does not have the authority to impose some of his sweeping global tariffs.
And that brings us to the next deadline, July 1st, 2026. That is when the USMCA faces its mandatory 6-year review. All three countries must agree to extend the deal, or it enters a slow wind down towards expiration in 2036. Any country can also walk away with a 6-month notice.
It expires in about a year, and we'll either let it expire or we'll maybe work out another deal with Mexico and Canada. But
Trump has called the agreement irrelevant. His trade representative has said everything is on the table. Revise it, renegotiate it, exit it. He's even floated negotiating separately with Canada and Mexico, splitting the deal in two. Without the USMCA, American manufacturers who depend on parts from Mexico and Canada would face new tariffs too. The thousands of American-owned factories across northern Mexico could suddenly become too expensive to operate. Everyone I talk to in Mexico is watching July 1st like a countdown clock. The system is in place for now, but the rules holding it together could evaporate in a few months. So that brings me back to where it all started. This Hisense TV. Trade deals, tariffs, new tariffs, none of them managed to stop this from getting here. Trade deal is often sold as a simple us versus them story. American workers versus foreign competition, and if you want the competition, the jobs will come home. But the reality is, trade doesn't work that way. Because trade is sort of like water. If you build a dam, it will find the cracks and form a new stream. And Mexico became that stream. And whether that's a problem depends on who you asked. A richer, more industrialized Mexico might mean higher wages, more consumers for American goods, or less pressure on migration. Or it might mean American workers competing with factories 2 hours away from Texas instead of an ocean away. Either way, the architecture is locked in. Factories, roads, logistics networks, certifications, relationships, billions of dollars of infrastructure, all optimized for exactly this route. This Hisense TV is proof that the back door is still open, and right now, no one knows how to close it.
Do you like watching Business Explains the World? Then you're going to love reading our Substack. Check out the link below.